The arena lights flickered, and a deep alarm echoed through the alien station. Every creature in the stands leaned forward, whispering nervously. Something strange was about to happen, something none of them expected. The iron doors at the far end opened with a slow, heavy sound. Out of the shadows walked a human soldier named Damon Hale. He had no armor, no shield, no weapon. His hands were empty, and yet he looked completely calm. The alien warriors on the other side stared at him in shock. They carried long blades and glowing spears. Their bodies were covered in thick armor. They were known across the galaxy as brutal fighters. But right now they weren't laughing. They were confused. Why was a human walking into a death match with nothing? Why did he look like he was ready? Why did he look like he expected to survive? Commander Ravuin, the tall and sharp-voiced leader of the alien fighters, lifted his chin and pointed at Damon. "He enters unarmed," Ravuin said loudly. "He understands he will fall instantly, yes?" The crowd laughed, but their laughter sounded weak, like they weren't sure anymore. Damon didn't answer. He just stepped forward, his boots touching the dusty arena floor. His breathing was steady. His eyes scanned the ground, the walls, the fighters, every detail. He didn't walk like a man walking to his end. He walked like someone preparing for something he had done many times before. One alien warrior stepped forward, towering over Damon. The creature's claws tapped against its glowing spear. "Where is your weapon, human?" it hissed. Damon raised his empty hands. "Right here." The crowd went silent. Ravuin frowned. "Begin." The alien warrior rushed at Damon with a roar, swinging the spear toward his chest. Damon didn't panic. He didn't freeze. He moved so fast the crowd gasped. He stepped aside, grabbed the warrior's wrist, and twisted. The spear dropped. The warrior fell to one knee in pain. Another alien rushed in. Damon ducked under the attack, using the creature's momentum to flip it over his shoulder. The sound of its armor hitting the ground echoed across the arena. The crowd jumped to their feet in shock. Humans fought with empty hands? Two more warriors charged together. Damon shifted his weight, grabbed one by the arm, and used the force of his movement to knock the second one off balance. Both fell. Damon didn't swing punches wildly. He didn't need to. Every move was smooth, quick, and controlled. He moved like someone who had trained for years, someone who learned to use his whole body as a tool. Tavara, an alien scientist, watched from the edge of the arena. Her eyes widened as she recorded Damon's movements with her scanner. "Impossible," she whispered. "He fights without weapons, but he fights as if he carries many." Ravuin stared in anger and disbelief. "How is this human doing this? Attack him. All of you." 8 warriors charged at the same time. Damon breathed out slowly. Then he moved. He dodged a blade by inches, rolled under another strike, and pushed an alien backward with a simple palm strike that sent the fighter stumbling. He hit pressure points, redirected weight, and avoided attacks like he could see them before they came. It was not magic. It was training. Human training. He stepped between 2 warriors, caught one by the arm, and used that arm to block the other's blade. The crowd shouted as both fell. Damon's boots slid across the dust as he spun, grabbed another alien's armor, and used leverage to slam it flat on the ground. Ravuin took a step back. Now he looked scared. Damon finally stopped moving. All 8 warriors were groaning on the ground. Damon hadn't taken a single weapon. He hadn't used any power. He hadn't even taken a hit. The arena was silent. Damon looked up at Ravuin. "Humans train for this," he said softly. "We train to fight even when we have nothing." The crowd whispered, afraid and amazed at the same time. Aliens had always believed humans were weak without weapons. But now they watched a single human defeat warriors with armored bodies and advanced weapons. And he did it with only his hands. Tavara stepped forward, staring at Damon with wide eyes. This changes everything. If humans can fight like this, what else can they do?" Damon didn't answer. Instead, he knelt down, checking the fallen warriors to make sure none were badly hurt. That confused the crowd even more. He fought like a storm, but he cared like a healer. Ravuin finally found his voice. "Human, what are you?" Damon stood and looked directly at him. "A soldier," he said quietly. "And this is only the beginning." And with those words, fear and curiosity spread through the arena like fire. The aliens had just learned something shocking. Humans did not need weapons to be dangerous. They only needed their hands. The training hall on Station Veruin 9 was usually silent at dawn, but this morning it was packed. Soldiers, guards, scouts, and scientists from many alien species crowded around the glass balcony, staring down into the empty floor below. They whispered to each other, confused and excited. They had all heard the rumors. The human with empty hands. The human who defeated armed fighters. The human who moved like a creature from legend. They all wanted to see if it was real. Inside the hall, Damon Hale stretched his arms calmly, as if he were the only one in the room. His face was relaxed. His breathing was slow. He moved like someone who had done this every single day of his life. Commander Ravuan arrived late, still annoyed and embarrassed from yesterday. His armor clanked as he walked. "So," he said loudly, "this human wishes to demonstrate his training?" His voice echoed across the room. Damon didn't react to the sarcasm. "You asked how humans fight without weapons," he said. "I'll show you." He stood in the center of the training floor. Tavara, clutching a data pad, stepped closer to the railing. Her eyes sharpened. "Begin when ready, human Damon," she said softly, though everyone could hear her. Damon lifted his hands slowly in front of him. The movement was simple, but every muscle in his arms tightened with control and strength. The alien crowd leaned forward. "First," Damon said, "humans train balance." He shifted his weight from one foot to the other in slow, perfect precision. Then faster. Then he suddenly pivoted, stepping into a stance so grounded that the metal floor vibrated. The aliens blinked. They expected something loud and flashy. Instead they saw calm, controlled power. "Next," Damon continued, "we train how to move with speed." He burst into motion. He sprinted forward, slid, turned, and jumped with such quickness that the crowd gasped. His boots barely touched the ground. Every step was quiet. Every motion was sharp. Ravuan's brows rose in surprise. Damon wasn't just fast, he was strategic. He moved like he was reading invisible threads in the air. "Humans train to read body movement," he said as he shifted again. "We watch. We predict." 3 alien volunteers stepped onto the floor. Each carried a practice staff. They exchanged nervous glances. Damon nodded. "Try to hit me." They charged. Damon didn't attack. He simply avoided them. He ducked, leaned, stepped back, and twisted his body so smoothly that their staffs swung through empty space. The aliens grew frustrated. They attacked faster. Damon continued moving, not with fear but with experience. He slipped past each strike as if he knew where it would go before it started. The crowd murmured loudly. Ravuan clenched his jaw. "He makes it look like they move in slow motion." Tavara whispered, "He is not superhuman. He is trained." Finally one alien swung too hard, throwing off his balance. Damon placed 2 fingers on the alien's shoulder and gently pushed him over. The alien fell flat. The crowd shouted in disbelief. The push had been so small, yet perfectly placed. "These points," Damon explained, touching his own shoulder, ribs, and knee, "control balance. Humans learn them from a young age." The other 2 volunteers tried again. Damon stepped close, tapped one behind the leg, and the creature dropped to a knee. He then guided the other's arm into a lock so fast the alien froze, afraid to move. Damon released him immediately and stepped back. "No harm," he said softly. "Just training." Tavara began recording faster. One tall, armored warrior spoke up from the balcony. "Human, why do you train like this? Why fight with no blade, no gun?" Damon looked up at him. "Because sometimes humans don't get the chance to choose their battlefield. Sometimes we lose our weapons. Sometimes we have nothing but our bodies. So we train our bodies to be enough." The hall fell silent. Ravuan narrowed his eyes, thinking deeply. "Show us more." Damon nodded. He moved to the center again. He began a series of motions, strikes, blocks, steps, twists. Every action flowed into the next like a river of movement. His arms cut through the air with precision. His legs lifted and landed with perfect timing. It was not wild or aggressive. It was control. It was discipline. It was a silent storm. Aliens from 6 different worlds watched with wide eyes. Some whispered in fear. Some whispered in respect. A few even tried copying his stance, failing instantly. Damon finished the sequence with a sharp strike into the empty air that echoed through the room like thunder. He lowered his hands slowly, breathing steady. Tavara leaned on the railing, breathless. "This will spread across the galaxy," she whispered. "They will talk about this human training everywhere." Ravuan looked shaken, but he finally nodded. "Human Damon," he said, "your people, they are far more dangerous than we believed." Damon shook his head. "Not dangerous. Prepared." The crowd grew quiet again. Prepared. The word felt heavy and every alien in the room felt it. Because if humans prepared like this with no weapons, then what did they train like with weapons? The galaxy was beginning to understand something new. Humans didn't fight because they wanted to. They fought because they learned to survive. And this was only the start. The lights in the research chamber flickered as a new file opened on the giant holoscreen. Strange symbols and human diagrams filled the display. Dozens of alien scientists, officers, and warriors stood around the room, staring at the images with wide eyes. Some looked confused. Some looked worried. All of them looked curious. At the center of the room stood Damon Hale, calm as ever. His hands were behind his back and he watched the crowd with the same steady focus he used in every fight. Tavara stepped forward, clutching her data pad. "Human Damon," she said softly, "we have seen your movement and your speed. But now, we want to know the secret behind it." A deep silence settled over the chamber. Ravuan crossed his arms. "Yes, we want the truth. How do humans learn to fight with nothing? How do humans build such control?" Damon nodded slowly. He understood the question. He also knew they expected something strange or mystical. Something secret and impossible. But the truth was far more human. "Very well," he said. "I'll show you." He tapped a hollow panel and the images changed. Now the screen showed human soldiers training on Earth. Running through forests, crawling under wires, climbing walls, wrestling, learning stances, practicing strikes, and facing opponents in empty-handed combat. The aliens leaned closer, whispering in shock. These were not super soldiers. These were ordinary humans training at home. Damon pointed at the screen. "This is where it begins. All humans learn to move early. As children we fall. We stand. We run. We fight in schoolyards. We learn balance without thinking." A small alien in the back raised a trembling hand. "But, this is normal for humans?" Damon nodded. "Yes, it is normal." The room filled with confused murmurs. He continued, "Then some of us train more. We learn martial arts. We learn how to use our bodies when we have nothing else. We learn timing, breathing, and calm." Ravuan frowned, staring at a recording of a human child practicing kicks in a small, simple room. "The young ones learn this? Before they are soldiers?" "Some start at 5 years old," Damon said. The aliens froze. Tavara blinked in disbelief. "That means by the time a human becomes a soldier, they already have years of discipline." Damon nodded again. "Years of building strength. Years of learning how to think clearly in danger. Years of understanding their own bodies." Another hollow image appeared, humans sparring in pairs, moving fast, using only their hands and feet. One alien warrior stepped back in fear. This is terrifying." Damon shook his head. "It isn't about being terrifying. It is about responsibility. Humans train so we do not panic. So we do not freeze. So we can protect others." The room went quiet again. He tapped the screen and new footage appeared. Humans running into burning buildings, saving people, holding shields in riots, working in teams without fear. "Human combat," Damon said softly, "is not just fighting. It is a way of thinking. A way of staying calm when everything else is chaos." The aliens listened closely. "We learn how to stay strong even when afraid. How to think fast. How to keep moving when everything around us is falling apart. That is the real secret." Tavara's eyes softened. "So, the secret is not power. It is discipline." Damon gave a small smile. "Yes, discipline. Training. Heart." Ravuan stepped forward, his face stern but curious. "Then tell us this, human. If all humans train like this, why are they not ruling the galaxy?" Damon looked at him calmly. "Because humans don't fight for control. We fight for each other. For survival. For hope." That answer seemed to shake the room more than anything else. The aliens had expected pride or threat or challenge. But Damon spoke with quiet truth. Tavara looked at him with a new expression, respect mixed with worry. "Your people, they are far more capable than we ever understood." Damon nodded. "And most humans never use this training in war. They use it to build, to help, to protect." The holoscreen changed one last time, showing a human medic lifting someone from rubble using the same balance and strength Damon used in combat. The aliens watched in silence. Ravuan finally exhaled. "So humans are dangerous, not because they fight but because they train their minds as much as their bodies." "Yes," Damon said. "That is the truth." Tavara closed her datapad slowly. "Then the galaxy has underestimated your people." Damon didn't disagree. He simply stood still, hands behind his back, calm and steady like always. Outside the research chamber, word was already spreading across stations and ships. The secret of human combat was no longer a rumor. It was something real, something powerful, something shocking. And the galaxy would not look at humans the same way ever again. The alarms screamed across the training dome, and for a moment, everyone froze. Even the alien officers wondered if this was the moment the human would finally fail. Zane stood in the center of the arena with his hands empty, chest rising and falling slowly. Across from him, the massive armored beast called a Varkhan let out a rough growl. Its claws scraped the metal floor, sending sparks across the air. Everything looked impossible. No weapon. No shield. No armor. Just a human with empty hands facing a creature bred for war. The alien spectators whispered nervously. Many believed Zane would run. Others believed he would beg. But Zane only watched the creature with calm eyes. The Varkhan charged first, fast and heavy. The whole arena shook from its weight. A normal human would have panicked, but Zane did not move until the last second. He stepped aside, letting the beast pass him. The aliens gasped. Some stood up from their seats. No one expected a human to move with such timing. The Varkhan spun around, angry now. It swung its massive claw toward Zane's head. But Zane bent his knees and dropped low. The claw missed him by inches. The beast roared louder. Zane could hear the crowd whispering now, their voices trembling. How is he dodging that? Humans are small. That is the only reason. No, he is reading the creature's every move. Zane studied the creature, watching how its shoulders tensed before each strike, how its breathing changed before each charge. He remembered what his old trainer once told him. A fighter without a weapon must pay attention to every detail. The body becomes the weapon. The mind becomes the shield. The Varkhan lunged again. This time, Zane reached out and placed his hand on its wrist for only a fraction of a second. The aliens blinked in confusion. What could a human do with a simple touch? But that touch changed everything. Zane had used the beast's own weight against it. He stepped aside and pulled at the right angle. The Varkhan stumbled forward and crashed into the metal floor. The entire arena went silent. Zane did not smile. He knew one wrong move could still end him. The creature got up again, furious and confused. No alien had ever made a Varkhan stumble without a weapon, yet this human made it look easy. The beast charged again, even faster this time. Zane's heartbeat quickened, but he held his ground. At the last moment, he twisted his body and struck the creature's knee with his elbow. There was a quick, sharp sound. The Varkhan howled and dropped to one side. The alien observers recoiled. One officer whispered, "He broke its stance, with his arm alone." Another officer replied, "Humans should not be able to do this. Their bodies are too soft." But they were learning quickly that human bodies were only half the weapon. The other half was the human mind. Zane stepped back as the creature slowly pushed itself up again. It was injured now, moving slower but still dangerous. He did not want to harm it more than necessary. It wasn't the creature's fault. It was trained to fight without choice, just like many of the alien soldiers watching. The Varkhan growled and limped toward him. Its movements were weaker now. Zane took a slow breath and circled it. He raised his hands in a calm position, showing he didn't want to finish the fight brutally. But the beast didn't understand mercy. It swung again. Zane caught its arm between his palms and twisted gently but firmly. The creature collapsed. This time it stayed down, panting heavily. Silence filled the arena. No human had ever fought a Varkhan without weapons before. No alien expected this outcome. Zane stepped back, breathing hard but steady. He bowed his head slightly toward the creature, showing respect, then turned toward the stunned crowd. For a moment, no one moved. Then one alien commander, trembling from shock, whispered, "Humans, they do not need weapons. They become weapons." Every alien in the room felt a cold shiver. They had misjudged humanity again. Their soldiers trained with machines, armor, and lasers. But humans trained with their bodies, their instincts, and their will. And now, the entire galaxy was beginning to understand. This fight was only the beginning. The real shock would come next, when the galaxy learned why humans trained like this, and what they were preparing for. But for now, Zane stood tall in the center of the arena, the only warrior who had defeated a Varkhan with empty hands, and the aliens watched him with fear and respect mixed together. The true human strength was only starting to appear. The sirens echoed through the galactic hall as the crowd gathered. No one knew why the High Council called an emergency meeting, but everyone felt the tension. Something big was coming, something that would change the galaxy. In the center of the hall, Zane stood alone on a raised platform. His hands were empty, his uniform simple, but every alien watched him with a mix of fear and respect. Only a month ago, many aliens did not believe humans were special. They thought humans were weak because humans used no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. But now, after everything Zane had shown them, After the way he fought with nothing but his body and will, the entire galaxy looked at him differently. The doors slid open and the counselors walked in. Their tall, thin shapes moved slowly toward the center. Their glowing eyes stayed on Zane. These were the leaders of dozens of worlds, and still they seemed nervous. A counselor spoke first, voice shaking. "Human Zane, your actions have forced us to rethink everything we know. You fought without weapons. You trained without machines. And you defeated threats even our best soldiers could not." The hall went silent. Zane looked around. He saw soldiers, scientists, and civilians from many species staring at him. He felt their fear, but he also felt something new, hope. Another counselor stepped forward. "We have learned that humans train differently. You prepare the body, the mind, and the heart. This is unusual for our worlds. We rely too much on technology. You rely on spirit." Zane said nothing. He did not enjoy attention, but he understood the moment was important. Then something unexpected happened. A deep rumble echoed through the hall as the Varkhan beast he had defeated earlier limped in. The crowd gasped. 2 guards stood beside it, but the creature ignored them. It walked straight toward Zane. Every alien prepared for the worst. But the creature lowered its head. It bowed. The entire hall stared, stunned. A creature created for war, one that showed respect to no one, was showing respect to a human with empty hands. Zane stepped closer and gently placed a hand on the creature's head. The hall trembled as thousands of aliens realized they were seeing something historic. A counselor whispered, "The galaxy has changed." Another added softly, "And a human changed it." Zane took a slow breath and finally spoke. "I did not fight to show power," he said. "I fought because I had to protect myself and others. You think humans are dangerous because we can fight without weapons. But that is not the reason. Humans train like this because we want to survive. We want peace. If we do not depend on weapons, then peace becomes easier to protect." The aliens listened carefully. No one interrupted him. Zane continued, "If a weapon is taken away, we still stand. If the lights go dark, we still stand. If everything we know is destroyed, we still stand. That is what being human means." The words were simple. But they shook the galaxy. Many aliens had believed strength came only from machines and armor. But now they saw a different kind of strength, one that came from inside. The council whispered among themselves. Then the highest-ranking counselor stepped forward and raised a hand. "Human Zane," he said, "you have shown us a new path. Because of you, we will begin training our own warriors differently. We will teach them discipline, control, and inner strength, not only weapons. You have started a new age." The crowd erupted into applause, cheers, and roars from many species. For the first time in history, they cheered for a human as if he was a hero of their own worlds. Zane felt overwhelmed. He never meant to start anything big. He only wanted to do what he believed was right. But now he understood that sometimes one small action, one simple fight, could echo across planets. As the applause continued, the lights in the hall brightened. The Varkhan beast sat behind Zane like a loyal guardian. Soldiers from different species saluted him. Scientists wrote new theories. Commanders planned new training programs inspired by him. A new chapter in galactic history began that day. And it started with a single human standing with empty hands. Zane walked out of the hall with calm steps, knowing the galaxy would never be the same again. He had shown them how powerful a human could be without any weapon. And now, millions across the stars wanted to follow the path he had opened. The galaxy had changed. And it changed because of him.